Google's ascension may seem effortless, but one aspect of their story is often overlooked. Their numerous attempts to create a messaging app that could rival Facebook's WhatsApp, Apple's iMessage, and Telegram. From Hangouts to Allo, Google has rolled out several platforms, each boasting unique features. However, despite their efforts, none really took off or amassed the large user base Google sought. They simply couldn't crack the code. So what was the issue? Despite Google's intelligence and resources, why couldn't they dominate the messaging market? In the early days of the internet, before smartphones dominated our lives, there was a fierce competition for who ruled online communication. This was where Google, the tech giant, came in. They brought in three contenders. First up was Google Talk, an instant messaging service launched in 2005. It was fondly dubbed Gchat by its users. Remember those iconic yellow chat bubbles with bouncing emoticons? Yup. That was Gchat in all its glory. Gchat was straightforward, easy to use, and even offered free voice calls. As a result, it quickly became a favorite among friends and families for its simplicity and convenience. But then, when Skype came along, offering fancy features like video calls and more, Gchat began to lose ground. By 2013, it was lights out for Gchat. However, this little setback was not enough to keep Google from achieving its aim with instant messaging. So on the 28th of May 2009, Google Wave was launched. Among its fellow contenders, Wave was perhaps the most fascinating, and some might say the most misunderstood. It was way ahead of its time. While email and instant messaging were popular and successful as they still are, both were created a very long time ago. Wave was born out of the idea to tie those two forms of communication together and add a ton of collaborative functionalities to them, leveraging on the maturity of the web platform. However, despite its innovative nature, Wave's complexity became its downfall. It required a steep learning curve, and with established email and document sharing platforms already prevalent, Wave struggled to gain traction. Therefore, despite its impressive features, Google discontinued the experiment in April of 2012, leaving behind a legacy of what if. Fast forward to the 9th of February 2010, Google Buzz was launched. Like Gchat and Wave, Buzz was a short-lived social experiment. Imagine a mashup of Twitter and Facebook integrated directly into your Gmail. Cool, isn't it? You could share updates, photos, and links similar to Facebook, but with the quick real-time nature of Twitter. However, Buzz launched amidst worries about privacy and with users already settled into their routines on established platforms. It was like showing up to a party uninvited, and after just 18 months, the party was over for Buzz in 2011. After the Buzz debacle, one might have thought that Google was ready to throw in the towel on messaging for good, but in 2013, they came back swinging with Hangouts. Now, Hangouts was a whole different ballgame compared to its predecessors. For starters, it had been in the works for 2 whole years since 2011, so you can imagine the amount of time and effort that went into its development. But what really sets Hangouts apart was its simple yet powerful vision to make communication easier by bringing together various messaging services under one roof. Before Hangouts became known for its diverse features, it existed as a part of Google+, a social network launched in 2011. This network aimed to compete with Facebook and Twitter, offering similar features like profiles, sharing updates, and connecting with others. However, Google+ eventually shut down in 2019. Now, Hangouts wasn't just limited to text messages or social media updates. It combined Google Talk, Google+ Messenger, and even SMS, offering everything from voice and video calls to group chats and photo sharing. This all-in-one approach struck a chord with users, and it didn't take long for Hangouts to become the talk of the town. Unfortunately, Google's big dream of creating a do-it-all communication tool ended up being its own undoing. Hangouts started off strong, but as time went on, it got stuffed with so many features that it became a bit of a mess for users. They kept adding features like video calls from Google+ and tying it into other Google services like Gmail, which made things even more confusing. Trying to figure out where everything was in the app became a headache, and finding what you needed was like searching for a needle in a haystack. To make matters worse, Google introduced other messaging apps like Allo and Duo in 2016. The result? Well, we'll revisit that shortly. Instead of bringing people together, these just split them apart even more. Suddenly, users were scratching their heads, wondering which Google app they should use to be communicating and chatting with their friends. It was all too messy. By 2018, Hangout was on a downward slide that nobody could ignore. People were using it less and less, and it was clear that its glory days were behind it. Then in November of 2022, the final nail in the coffin came: Hangouts shut down for good. Between 2016 and 2018, Google ventured into a period of experimentation within the messaging landscape. This era saw the launch of two distinct apps, Google Allo and Google Duo, each focusing on specific features and functionalities. Allo was Google's attempt to take on giants like WhatsApp and Telegram. It came packed with great features, which included secret messages that disappeared after a while and clever automatic replies, all powered by Google Assistant. Meanwhile, Hangouts, which was existing at the time, received a makeover to focus more on group communication and video conferencing functionalities. And then there was Duo, a simple and streamlined app just for video calls, nothing fancy. Now, while each of these apps had its own strengths, Google's shotgun approach didn't quite hit a target. It backfired. None of the apps managed to gain significant traction against established players like WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. Realizing they had missed the mark, Google decided to pull the plug on both Allo in March 2019 and Duo in June 2022, just like they did with Hangouts. However, Duo wasn't completely wiped out in the usual manner. In June 2022, Google blended the best parts of Duo into the already existing Google Meet platform. So even though you can't find the standalone Duo app anymore, its main features still stick around within Meet. And with that, Google closed the chapter on their brief stint of trying out different things and shifted gears to a more focused strategy. As part of their new strategy, Google made efforts to upgrade the regular texting experience across Android by integrating the RCS protocol, which stands for Rich Communication Services. In Google Messages, RCS comes built-in and adds features like typing indicators, read receipts, threaded replies, high-quality media sharing, improved group chats, better privacy with end-to-end encryption, and more, all to create a more modern and secure messaging experience. However, getting lots of people to switch to RCS turned out to be harder than expected. You see, RCS becoming a global and dominant standard involves mobile phone carriers and smartphone manufacturers around the world evolving and adopting RCS to replace their outdated SMS and MMS protocols. Apple's sluggishness in adopting RCS in iMessage has also been a major factor, as their lack of support slows down the overall acceptance and implementation of this new standard. So why can't Google let go of the messaging space despite multiple setbacks? The answer is more profound than just facilitating communication. It's about creating a deeply integrated experience that binds billions of users to the Android ecosystem, much like Apple has achieved with iMessage. iMessage, since its inception in 2011, has evolved into more than just messaging. It's become a super app, offering a wide array of features from sending cash to location sharing to compatibility with popular apps like IMDb, Yelp, and TikTok. Similarly, Google envisions its messaging app to be more than just a communication tool. It aspires to offer a comprehensive platform that showcases Google's best features, deepening users' loyalty to Android. This would discourage users from switching to rivals like iPhone, which heavily relies on the integrated experience of iMessage. In this way, Google aims to establish a stronghold similar to iMessage dominance in North America, thereby driving up sales of Google's phones. Messaging platforms like WhatsApp, valued at an enormous $50 billion by Facebook, are essentially treasure troves for companies. Why? The more you communicate, the more data they acquire about your preferences and behaviors. This data is then leveraged to serve you targeted ads across various platforms, generating substantial profits. Like the interconnectedness of WhatsApp and Facebook, Google could go one step further too, deeply integrating your email, which is Gmail by the way, with Google Messages, Google Search, and YouTube to create a comprehensive user profile about you across its platforms. This deeper integration isn't just about facilitating communication, it's all about harnessing this rich data stream to gain a deeper understanding of you. This is why Google is not ready to relinquish its pursuits in the messaging space. Every tech giant recognizes the immense value of these integrated messaging platforms. Google's messaging future remains uncertain. Will they succeed with RCS or surprise everyone with an entirely new approach? Only time will reveal the answer. However, one thing is for sure, Google isn't backing out of the race to globally connect through messaging. Still, one must ask, but at what cost?